You've tuned into the Bellingham Podcast for the week of March 11, 2018, episode 71. From the city by the Salish Sea, I am AJ Barsay.
And straight out of 98226, I am Chris Powell. On this episode, AJ and I ask a rhetorical yet impactful question: why is this still a thing? Plus, now that the cold weather and flu season is subsiding, where does one go to rejuvenate? We're talking self-care options around Whatcom County. And we'll throw in a couple hacks to brighten your weekend. All that and more. You're listening to the number one podcast in the world, according to AJ Barsay's mom. This is a Bellingham Podcast.
Yes, Chris, thank you for announcing that.
Hi, AJ Barsay's mom.
Yes. So I don't even know where to go with that, Chris. How are you doing?
I am in a much better mood than the past, 10 episodes, thanks to the weather of Hoth that we had around here.
Yeah, I know. I put my tauntaun away, and there's a nice glowing orb out in the sky, even though it's still 40 degrees outside.
I'll take the glowing orb if it's 15 degrees. That bright light always matters to me. But anyway, a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of fun stuff to talk about. Tongues firmly planted in cheek.
Yes.
Let's go for it.
So this episode is the simple question: why is this still a thing?
Exactly.
And Chris and I have been talking about this actually for about, a week or two. We've been really rolling on this idea of like certain topics where it's not just about tech or EDC or it just our show, the Bellingham Podcast, is technically a society and culture show. It's how we're listed in the podcasting feeds. So with society and culture in mind, Chris, why is The Bachelor still a thing?
I've often asked myself this many times in watching some of these episodes with my teenage daughter. Why is this show still popular, which is a horrible explanation of, or a horrible display of relationships and in efforts to win a contest, which ultimately ends up in a lifelong commitment to each other, having only had 1 to 4 dates with this person. You're supposed to be able to decide whom you're going to spend the rest of your life with. To
which also, when you pointed this out to me, I did not realize this was still a thing. I didn't know the show was still going.
Yes, AJ, this is still a thing, especially in the teenage demographic and maybe 20-something demographic.
No idea. I thought that it went the way is Survivor still? Is reality TV still a thing?
Yes. Moving on. AJ, why are vehicles as they are now still a thing?
This is something that I'm looking at getting a new vehicle here in the next couple of months. And as I am looking, I ask myself, why is it that I have to look and evaluate vehicles based off of miles per gallon? And then as the miles per gallon are, in theory, better, the price is through the roof. And on top of that, like the turnaround value of these vehicles, the hybrids and all this, theoretically, by the time I go to sell this, it's going to depreciate faster than a gas guzzler. So my whole point to this whole, my conjecture of vehicles as they are now, I'm not saying that everything needs to be a hybrid. I'm looking for the Mr.Fusion of vehicles. Like, we have all of these hodgepodge ideas when it comes to vehicles right now. We've got driverless vehicles. We have autonomous driving. We have ludicrous mode, courtesy of Elon Musk. It's a hodgepodge of ideas that are not well executed, and there are hefty price tags on it. Vehicles, where are the days of where literally in driver's ed, we were talking about this off the mic earlier, part of driver's ed was you had to understand the mechanics of a vehicle. You ask a teenager, how do brakes work in a vehicle, and watch their face go, huh? Well,
they'll probably answer, you push the lever on the left with your right foot and it'll stop the car.
Right. Presuming, okay, I will boil it down even further. I would like to know what the percentage of people in the United States who know and can drive effectively a stick shift. Go.
That would be a low percentage.
Exactly. Like the concept, well, this is something that I really have a hard time with is we are trying to progress vehicle technology to the point of luxury and comfort and dumbing down the driver. See my previous rants about, as full disclosure, I'm a motorcyclist. Whereas we should be teaching people either A, to be a sharper driver, not enabling them to do literally less behind the wheel, or we need to have our vehicles smart enough to take us over and be our Cylon overlords. Like we should not be playing the fence that we are right now.
I thought we already had Cylon. Oh, well, wait, no.
No.
All right. So why is a $1,000 phone with a notch that only comes with 5 gigabytes of free cloud storage data still a thing?
I don't know, Chris. Why is it still a thing?
Because I don't know why. This is the rhetorical question of the bit. I don't know why phones that I'm looking at the Apple camp right now.
Sure.
You provide a phone that takes an average of 7 to 8 megabytes per photo.
And let's not talk about the 4K video.
Or the 2.x gigabytes for the operating system now that we're in double digits of the operating system. To only have 5 gigabytes of free backup storage in which you're going to be charging for elevated storage $2 a month, $1 a month, et cetera, et cetera. Why are you not at least using some of those coffers of wealth to be able to say, you know what, you just dropped $1,000 on your phone. We're going to give you $1,000 or 1,000 gigabytes of storage space.
Yeah.
You dropped $600 on a phone. We're going to give you 600 gigabytes of space for your backups, for your photos, et cetera, et cetera. 1-to-1 sounds pretty cool. What do you think, Tim? So I'm just wondering why this is still a thing.
That would be cool. And Tim, if you do listen to our show on your very own iTunes podcast, also bear in mind that in the Bellingham area, you might listen to us on KMRE 102.3 FM.
Low power.
Community radio here in the heart of the city by the Sailor Sea.
And don't forget to rate us and review us on iTunes as well. Thanks, Tim.
That would be cool if the CEO of Apple gave us a review.
Like 1 star. Go ahead. Give me a 1 star. It's like Chris doesn't know what he's talking about. There's so much more that he's unaware of.
That would be the best 1 star we've ever earned.
That would get us the cover of that episode if we saw that. Anyway, moving on. So in my camp, along the same lines of vehicles, here's something that also is kind of, I asked myself, why is this still a thing? So during our windstorms during the winter, I had one of our appliances pop. We've had this appliance for about 1.5 years, so it's just out of warranty. And so I look for somebody who can repair it or fix it or at least diagnose it, which is getting harder and harder. Like having these type of tradespeople who are skilled in appliance repair or that type of field is getting a lot more limited, I found, even here in Bellingham. Like we have a handful of them here, but if you have a specialized piece of equipment, you have to source out of Seattle, and you don't want to know what those call out fees are. But that's not why is that still a thing? That's not the bit that I'm going for. Here's the thing. The original quote that I got to repair this 1.5-year-old appliance that I spent about $1,500 on, get ready for it. The original quote was for the same price for me to replace that unit. That's a great markup.
Yeah. So then, of course, as a technologist, I had to ask the question of why is that repair so expensive? So I had to do some digging and come to find out they had spec'd the wrong parts for the repair. Oh. So I contacted the manufacturer and found out that and had that bit of equipment. But regardless, it's going to cost in excess of $600. Okay, but roughly a little over a third of the price. 40%. Yeah, 40%. To which my own wife had to ask, well, if we're going to spend $600, could we get not the same unit, but a comparable unit for that price? And there is by a different manufacturer, that very same unit for $100 more, I can get a brand new unit. So why is it repairs? How is it that we can, in 2018, we can have repair costs comparable to buying a new unit or darn near close to a whole new unit?
That's really pushing the envelope of disposable technology when you're going into the realm of disposable appliances. Yeah.
Like that, I mean, I think back to like the 50s and 60s where appliances were, you bought a house, you bought appliances, and those appliances basically had one of two things. One, live the life of the person in the house, or live the life of the house. And so along those same lines, I found a documentary that I watched, which is actually really, it's a fast watch. I think you find it on either Amazon Prime or Netflix. I can't remember which one, but there is a documentary called Consumed. And yes, there's a lot of documentaries that have used the term consumed, but check the show notes for a link to the actual documentary that I'm speaking of. What's interesting about it is they talk about the mentality of the human race in contemporary, the last 2018 years of society and culture that is the world, not just America, not just just the world. And they put it in terms of anthropological and evolutionary psychology, not biology, folks. I'm not talking about evolutionary biology. I'm talking about the evolution of our psychology. One of the things that they brought up that really resonated with me was the fact that we have, through the brands and marketing, we have gotten bushwhacked mentally in this construct that we should just invest in replacing our stuff every so often. And you're probably asking yourself, well, what does that mean, AJ? How many of you who are listening who replace your phone every 2 or 4 years because of your contract? Why? That phone did you just find 2 years ago. Why do you feel like you have to upgrade? There is this march, this upgrade path. This is vernacular that we use in technology all the darn time. And yet now as a society, we have adopted that and we don't know anything outside. A lot of us don't know anything beyond that. Repairing things, having things for a lifetime. We had this term called heirlooms. In today's day and age, Chris, do you see youths looking for an heirloom?
Not yet.
Where is that heirloom technology? We have lost that concept. And yes, I am looking at your wrist and my wrist, and yes, we have a piece of technology that has stood the test of time, that is kind of a relic of the past that kind of reminds me, whenever I buy something, how long am I going to keep it?
Yep.
And how long is it going to last? Because that's the other thing is things aren't made like they used to.
Nope. And we're getting into this place. I guess we're in our mind not really seeing where those things go.
Yeah.
We don't see, obviously the earth has a little bit of a trap door inside of it that we just kind of shove it into a little bit of a sinkhole, and it just goes down into the magma and therefore is incinerated, right?
Right. Or there's a Narnia closet in the earth's crust, right?
Right. That's actually in, I believe that's in Fresno, California.
Okay,
for
good,
Narnia's
good,
closet.
Good,
yeah.
great. But no, that's my thing is, with everything that all this cool technology that we have, we're losing this concept of serviceability. Either A, have a user service their own device. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that you could, if you had a cracked iPhone screen, you could go up to a site like iFixit. They don't endorse us, nor do we get sponsorship from them, but I've used their services before. iFixit basically provided you the tools, the instructional videos, and the parts to replace something as simple as a cracked screen. And nowadays, Chris, you had a device that has a crack in it that belongs to the fruit company.
Yeah, this is where I get my PTSD flashbacks about this. A number of episodes back, I lamented how I set a coffee cup down on my iPad Pro 12-inch device, only having it for 2 weeks, and a nice little eagle wing crack on two sides separating from the point of impact was of course sad.
Yeah.
But to get it replaced on an Apple authorized hardware repair dealer is just about $40 less than I paid for it.
And that's, again, so you told me that the quote to replace your screen for that device is around $600.
Yep.
How much is an iPad Pro 12 brand new at the same spec that you have?
Just about, well, I haven't checked prices today, but it's around $600 to $700.
So again, that gets back to my same thing with my appliance, where I'm looking at these devices and it's, again, going back to like the documentary Consumed, where, well, if it's going to take that much to repair it, I might as well replace it. That's the natural progression that we think.
Yep.
How did this happen? It used to be that if you had something broke, you can get it fixed for a reasonable cost and get more life out of something. And now, you're right, it's disposable.
I blame the Swanson TV dinner company.
You're going to have to fill me in.
Okay, because Swanson TV Dinner Company, they made food so that you didn't have to prepare it. It was right there for you. It was convenient. It was a little disposable, and it was something you could watch in front of the TV. Boom, heat it up. You could watch your evening TV shows, and when you're done, throw it away. So
the microwave killed the repairable tech.
Yeah, that's right, pretty much. So, yes. I got a final... Is this a rant bit that we're doing right now?
No, I don't think it's a rant. I just think it's one of those things where you and I, we kind of just shake our head going, what are we doing?
The final one I got, yes. What is society doing?
Society, yes.
Loud music in public meeting places. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, why is this still a thing? Why is it that we go to have a bite to eat, or to sip a cup of joe, or to shop for groceries, or to fill in the blank, and we are bombarded with a techno soundtrack that follows us from venue to venue? In the 50s and 60s movies, in the golden age of Hollywood, you had quiet music playing in the background where you could hear the baritone sounds of Bing Crosby, Cary Grant, Frank Sinatra, all the leading actors, if you will. And you can have the conversations with the strings in the background. No, I'm not advocating classical music be played everywhere you go, but guess what? The decibel levels are hurting our voices because we're having to talk louder in order to be able to hear each other over the din of the public address speakers in the venue that we're at. Did you catch that? I miss the opportunity. I seek out those places that do not have that type of audio disruption. Why do we continue to have the techno dance club experience in a coffee shop, which is completely counterintuitive when you're trying to perhaps have some quiet time, have a conversation, study, et cetera, et cetera? Are you with me? Do you feel me? If you are, give us a shout out on Twitter at #BHAM. The M is for Marvelous Podcast. Let me know if you're with me, if you're tired of having the techno oonce soundtrack being played everywhere we are. Why is this still a thing? I don't know.
Well, that's a really good lead in for my final one.
What is that, by the way?
Why is Twitter still a thing?
Why is this still a thing?
Well, outside here in the United States, we've had a lot of turmoil with our social media. See previous episodes, especially since our United States elections. That aside, even before that whole thing happened, why is it that we still see this influence of needing to have a hashtag or needing to document everything publicly on something that we qualify as a social network? Why? Like, I genuinely don't understand. And then on top of that, this last year, Twitter decides this is 2018. Last year, Twitter ups their famous 140 characters to 200 and I don't remember because 280 doubled it.
Yep.
Again, I think to myself, what am I using Twitter for? Why do I have this? And if you're like me and you've had Twitter since the inception, where it used to be a micro blogging platform, when they didn't have a vowel between the last T and the R, it was Twitter, not Twitter. And it was a microblogging platform because if you had small instances of a string of consciousness and you wanted to bring a discussion, that's what Twitter was trying to promise.
And I think back then the catchphrase or their slogan was, "What are you up to right now?"
Now, yeah.
That's kind of like, I don't know, a status report as opposed to linking to articles.
Right. It's become this other thing. And I will also say the same thing to Facebook. But for this bit, I wanted to focus on specifically Twitter because in today's day and age of photo sharing and everything else that people do want to share, how is it Twitter's never been profitable to my understanding as a business? How is it that Twitter is still a thing? I don't understand. So much so that I decided to use a tool called, I believe it's tweet or delete my tweet or tweeter delete. I can't remember. I'll have a link in the show notes. But what you're able to do, if you are as so bold, is that you can use the Twitter API to give it your credentials, and then you can specify to back delete everything you have on Twitter. I pushed the big red button, Chris.
How do you feel after deleting some of your content?
I didn't care. It's for somebody who's used a service freely and used it for my graduate school research and to do it for connecting with people. I deleted everything up till the last 365 days. I kept 1 year of stuff, basically from today to 1 year from today of this recording.
Were you able to figure out how many, like in quantity, tweets that you
I deleted
had?
some like 3,000 tweets.
3,000
if you look at my
tweets.
Twitter, I think I have less than 1,000 tweets on my Twitter. Okay. And most of that are automated because whenever we create a show, I have our system just pump out a tweet. And that's what led me to think about this. How many people just use Twitter just as a board to just, announce content like we do? We use it as basically again, we stump our wares using the platform. I don't use it to connect, very rarely, unless somebody gives us a shout out. Like even for our show, I don't even really acknowledge Twitter anymore.
I think you raise a lot of great points, and it's just great to ponder some of these things every now and then, because oftentimes our brains are bombarded with so many things beckoning our attention. And it's fun to take a look at why are these things still a thing. However, let's flip it on the other side of the coin. Why isn't this more of a thing? So let's talk about some stuff that should be more of a thing.
Yeah.
AJ, what should be more of a thing?
So again, because the Bellingham podcast, we try to focus on things that are positive. It's so easy for any podcaster who spends thousands of dollars per episode to basically just take a show and rant. And that's not what we wanted. So to flip it on its head, so what would I want to be more of a thing? Well, one of the things that I'd love to see in the future to be a thing is more e-ink technology. This is
electronic ink.
Electronic ink. This is something that we see in the Kindle. This is something that we see in other devices like the phone, the light phone. The light phone. This is a technology that is low power. It is a lot more affordable to produce than LCD technology. You can use it for a wide range of things now. You can touch it like a touch screen. The battery consumption is nominal. There's a lot of positives to this. And we have, in today's day and age where we consume so much text stuff, how is that not more a thing? Why are we still producing magazine after magazine? And I'm not bashing the magazine. I've been in those shoes. Publications, you are the goods. But that type of technology, why isn't that in everybody's satchel as an EDC, as a device, an infinite paged notebook that has connectivity to Wi-Fi that can present to you in e-ink with batteries that basically can last you a month on a charge? Why isn't that technology in our pockets, and this color LCD display that distracts us while we drive, see previous bit, why isn't e-ink more of a thing?
That's a very good point. I think a couple things about what I was wanting to see, why isn't this more of a thing? It relates to society and culture, just from the people side as opposed to the technological side. Why isn't genuineness and transparency among your quote unquote, do you see me doing air quotes right now, folks? Friends. Why aren't we more genuine and transparent with those that we share our lives with, whether it be in person or online? I have a couple theories about it. It would be longer than a half-hour episode. But why don't you take some time and think about, why aren't we more genuine and transparent with those that we are spending a whole lot of time with, whether it be in person to person, virtually, or in the workplace for that matter? AJ, what else should be more than a thing?
My last thing is dealing with the same thing with society and culture. And it's what I hit on a little bit earlier, which is, why isn't our mentality for things, why isn't it longer than 4 years? We tend to look at things in 4-year chunks. We look at college, it's 4 years.
Presidential term.
Devices. Most things, it's like we are blinded by the concept of planning for year 5 or year 10, unless you're a business owner or something like that. Like for most people, it's like we have this blinder on where it's like, okay, we can do 4 years. That's it. Why aren't we, if we were more future thinking, just in general, what would that look like for us? My rant about cars, maybe we'd be off the fence about hybrid versus petrol versus the Mr. Fusion. Maybe if we had this concept of owning something for longer, heirloom technology, however you want to preface it, maybe we wouldn't be disposing so much, so often, so frequently. I just think, like, why can't we look forward more?
I like having the room to breathe in the conversation in a lot of ways. Finally, why isn't this more of a thing? I'm curious why signing bonuses, number one draft picks, and multi-million-dollar contracts are not applicable to teachers. And I'm looking at the K-12 school districts, and I'm looking at higher ed in some cases. Mm-hmm. Why aren't these gargantuan salaries for these people that are spending way more than 40 hours a week educating our children, whom I think we loved last time we checked.
Let me check. Yeah, I do.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Why aren't they getting boatloads of money being dumped on them saying, we support you, keep doing good work, we want to recruit the top talent? I don't think there are many people that would disagree with me on that, but of course, things happen.
Sure.
So I'm just wondering why teachers, and there's plenty of other professions out there, but I'm just going to focus on teachers for a while. The sacrifice that they make for the love of teaching the upcoming generation, as squirrely as they are, should be compensated at least 10x in many ways. And I would love to see those signing bonuses for the number one draft pick that we have coming up sometime soon in the National Football League. Why don't we apply that to the upcoming academic school year? Wouldn't that be something, boys and girls? That'd be pretty cool. AJ, let's move on.
Okay, so moving on. Self-care, going for the local beat here in the city of subdued excitement. As things are warming up, and maybe you've listened to this show going, wow, you guys went totally in a different direction. Well, that's the show. Hopefully this episode made you had pause for thought, but also as things are getting a little bit brighter, hopefully you're feeling a little happier. I mean, it can be quite dark and dreary in the northwest of the Northwest. So Chris and I have a couple of quick shout outs and ideas to help refresh yourself.
Yes.
Chris, what's your first one?
As we are emerging from hibernation for the past 6 months, October, November, December, January, February, March,
Yep.
just about 6 months. It's important as you're stretching your limbs and kind of getting refreshed. It's important to get some self-care for your body. And for that, I equate that with a deep tissue massage. Always feel good after getting an hour of deep tissue massage to get rid of that lactic acid buildup, to get rid of all those knots in the muscles. And there's plenty of great venues and places around Bellingham and Whatcom County to get a massage. But one in particular that I've been a fan of for the past 10 plus years is Chapaz Massage over in Sycamore Square in Fairhaven, across the street from, or kitty corner from the old Fairhaven Pharmacy. And it's across from Whiskey Burger, I believe.
Okay.
On right in the heart of downtown Fairhaven there. Get your body rejuvenate a little bit. You've done a lot this winter season. You've fought through the cold. You've hacked your lungs up, coughing and sneezing and everything like that. The next thing, of course, is to take care of your belly. And what better place in town than my secret weapon, and perhaps yours if you're listening out there, Hana Teriyaki downtown on Holly Street, just a little bit past the main downtown corridor next to a motorcycle shop. You keep driving down.
Old motorcycle
shop across the street from Maritime Heritage Park, I believe, in some cases. So such a great tasting accumulation of teriyaki. Somewhat healthy, I would imagine. Yes, let's call it healthy. And quantities for such a reasonable price.
Yeah.
I take care of my body, getting a massage. I take care of my belly, getting some good food. And then I got to work off all of that food that I've consumed in Hana Teriyaki. And I go up to the North Ridge Trails to exercise, not looking at a screen, exercising my legs, exercising my ears to hear the quiet that is devoid of and the soon-to-be cacophony of motorcycle exhausts. And I'm about ready to get on your bad side, AJ, as for the loud exhaust engines that we have, and of course the trucks that often have huge accelerations out there.
Thank you.
I'm an equal opportunity hater when it comes to loud vehicles noises.
Loud ambience.
But so many trails in Bellingham and Whatcom County.
Yeah.
Get out and go to one, whatever's near you. My wife and I enjoy the Northridge Trails up on Barkley Hill. Great place to walk a dog, great place to look out, especially over the Alabama Bridge, to be able to go, yes. AJ, where are a couple places, or what do you do to take care of yourself?
So my big exhale moment is I will take the north, I will drive to North Bellingham, and then I will start heading towards the Mount Baker Highway, and I won't stop until I hit the top of Mount Baker. I have this ideology. I don't think I've ever talked about it on the show, but I have this ideology whenever I get wound up, whether it's about friends or family or society or politics or whatever. And I feel like I've gone bonkers a little bit. I blitz, I just go up to the mountains where, again, it's quiet. You don't have service, so good luck trying to, surf the Twitter. And I get out of my truck and I'll have a vista. Maybe I'll have a camera with me while I'm up there. I'll shoot some shots. But the one thing I love about going up to the mountains, wherever you're at, maybe you're not in Bellingham, but you're listening to this and you're going, oh, I know where AJ's going with this. When you go up to the mountain and there's nobody around you, you just got nature and you've got a vista. And you have that deep sigh moment. You have this epiphany of, the mountain doesn't care.
It does not.
The mountain doesn't care about whether or not you're frustrated with Facebook. The mountain doesn't care whether you live or die. The mountain is always going to be a mountain. And it's nice to be able to put 2 feet on a solid rock that isn't going to move anytime soon unless it's a volcano, so run. But just have this exhale moment of, if this mountain doesn't care, nor should I. And I come off that mountain and I feel refreshed. And usually I have to do that at least 4 times a year, just to get away and to get some headspace.
You have a 3-month latency between heading up on the mountain. I can see how that would be the case. Some people might have a month where they have to get out for a while.
Yeah.
Great idea to head on up to a little bit of wilderness and a little bit of nature and to eliminate urban technology and urban chaos.
Bingo. If I'm not on top of a mountain, I'll head to the seas and either hit up San Juan Island, Lopez Island, or even Whidbey Island. You can just drive across it. I like anything with mountains or water. I mean, big shock. I've grown up in the Pacific Northwest all my life. But,
and you're in the right town for it with the sea and the
an hour and a half either direction, and boom, I'm there. But another place, if you have a passport and you're feeling a little adventurous, go way far north and hit the Sea to Sky Highway. Especially if you're a motorcyclist like this guy right here who doesn't have loud exhaust.
Thank you.
Take the Sea to Sky Highway all the way up past the Sea to Sky gondola, and it's a gorgeous ride. As the temperature gets better, it's a ride that is like none other, and you can do it as an all day thing. It's a day trip type of a thing. But that's my thing is I like to get out and away, and especially if I'm out in the wilderness, I don't have the desire for technological distractions because I'm just trying to find that grounding. For my belly, though, when I get back and all of my adventuring is said and done as a conquistador, I will get off at the Fairhaven exit and hit Magdalena's Creperie. Hi, Magda.
Well said. This is a great way to wrap up the show about talking about how we can take care of ourselves. Hopefully you'll give some of these a try if you haven't already. AJ, take us home.
Hopefully we gave you some food for thought. And thank you again for listening to the Bellingham Podcast. Be sure to listen to us on Camry 102.3 FM.
Low friggin' power.
Low power here in Bellingham if you're in the area. Or you can subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, and anywhere else you love to listen to podcasts. From the city by the Sailor Sea, thank you so much again for listening. I'm AJ Barce.
And I'm Chris Bell. Thanks again for listening to us on the Bellingham Podcast.
We should call 71 our therapy session.
It's kind of like self-care, self-therapy. Yeah, we're kind of sitting on the couch. It's like, it all started when I was 4 years old.